I am very much a routine person, and I'm going to bet, since you're a listener of the show, that you are too. But I was wondering the other day, when are our routines actually more harmful than helpful? How can we be sure that our routine is right for us? And we're not just forcing things into our day-to-day life that we think we should be doing. We are going to explore this and more in today's episode to make sure that you are not a slave to your routine. Hi Balancers, and welcome to another episode of the Balance Theory podcast. I'm your host Erica, and I'm excited today to be talking about something that's so important to many of us, which is routine. But before we dive in, if you've been loving our content, don't forget to subscribe. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And of course, if you haven't had a chance to leave us a review or rating yet, it would mean the absolute world to me. You can do so with ease on any of your streaming platforms. For those of you that haven't already joined, we've got a free community chat. So it's on Telegram. The link is in the show notes. Come in, say hi. We've got balancers from all around the world, and it's a really beautiful space that we've been using to connect and just share things that have been going on in our lives, books that we're reading, problems we're having, whatever kind of comes to mind. So jump in, say hi. We'd love to connect and see you in there. So having a routine is something that comes up a lot in many of my conversations with you guys, and it's something I've spoken about time and time again on the podcast. Perfecting our routine, having one down pat, whether it be morning or night, is such an important topic. It's something that's really important in my day-to-day life. But I do want to explore the other side of it. One I feel we don't often speak about, and that is the potential for us to become a slave to our routine, how to know if we currently are, and how to avoid it altogether. So, what does it mean to be a slave to our routine? To me, this really centers around one word: inflexibility. Being inflexible. That's two, but you know what I mean? Inflexible. And to take that, I guess, a little bit further, it's when we're very rigid and robotic in our approach to our day-to-day lives. It's I need to go to the gym today even though I'm exhausted and I know my body could do with a bit more sleep. It's I'm not going to eat more today because I'm on a diet even though your body is telling you that it's hungry. This rigidity, I feel, is often a byproduct of us being so strict with our routines. It's when we look at our routine as this concrete, completely inflexible set of habits or actions that have zero room or margin to be flexible or to change. And this is where I feel it can be more harmful than helpful, especially to our balance, which, as we know, is an ever-changing concept. It changes day to day, week to week, year to year, era to era in our lives. And so, of course, there's an aspect of discipline that I don't want to completely ignore and bypass. There, of course, are going to be those days where we just need to kick ourselves a little bit to get up and going. We're not always going to wake up feeling the most motivated and ready to go. Routine serves a great framework to keep that discipline in check. But when I talk about being flexible and subject to change, I'm not talking about the I can't be bothered mornings and, I'm going to ignore my routine because I want to be flexible. Flexibility doesn't serve us in that moment. Discipline serves us in that moment, and our routine is helpful in those moments when we need a little bit of a boost, where we need a little bit of a kick. I'm talking about the moments where we're actually out of balance and our routine is something that we're a slave to instead of honoring our body and being flexible with what we need at changing moments in our life. So I just want to make that distinction very clear. When I talk about being flexible and the importance of us not being so rigid with our routine, it's not to allow for those moments where we want to be lazy and we just can't be stuffed. It's to allow for those moments where we actually need to prioritize rest, more of something, less of something, etc. When our body is talking and screaming to us, where we're potentially on the road to burnout or being really, really stressed out, in those moments, being a slave to our routine can be very, very harmful. I felt this quite a few times in my life, and I feel there are a couple repeated signals or signs that I can at least trace back in my own experience that are kind of indicative of when we are in this period of being a slave to your routine. So take this as a checklist, if you will, a little bit of a check-in to see if, okay, you've got this routine at the moment, but are you a slave to it? So I'm going to walk through. There's a total of 8. Tune in and see what ones maybe spark an idea of, okay, maybe this is indicative that I'm a slave to my routine. And it's good to just start thinking about it, because when those days come up and we know we need something different and we ignore that, now you're going to have me in your head, little birdie, or on your shoulder saying, is this you being a slave to your routine? So let's go through them. And some of these might surprise you actually, but let's get into it. Number one, you're not looking forward to some of the things in your routine. So I've felt this, I can honestly say, in exercise. So when I've been doing certain programs, or I've been, maybe doing the same style of training, whether it be weights or Pilates, when I've been doing that for a long period of time and maybe it's no longer challenging, or for whatever reason, I'm just no longer looking forward to it, I feel like that's a sign that we might be a slave to our routine. Because rather than doing things that we enjoy, that really motivate us, that fill us up, we're just doing things out of habit, out of BAU. And that's not to say everything's going to absolutely fill you with this sense of overwhelming joy. But I think for me, the sign kicks in when it's an ongoing kind of lack of you looking forward to your exercise, your routine. So if that's been ongoing for a long period of time, not just a random Monday morning, something like that. If it's been a long period of time that you're no longer looking forward to seeing a person, going to an event, or doing something, a habit, then maybe it's a sign that you're just a slave to your routine and it's time for you to change things up, be a little bit more flexible and not be so locked into that rigidity just because you've committed to something months ago or at the start of the year or even a couple of weeks ago. Two, kind of related, is you don't get the same energy from doing it. So maybe, months ago, years ago, when you started this habit or this part of your routine, it gave you so much energy. It filled you with endorphins. It made you so excited and happy. But now as time has gone on, you no longer get that. Maybe it comes from it being mundane in terms of, because you're not looking forward to it, you're not getting the same thing out of it. And that again comes down to maybe you need to be flexible and explore some new things, inject some newness, something novel into your life. And one thing I just want to say here is, we're changing humans. I know every single person listening to this podcast is growing and changing regularly. And so it's interesting when you zoom out and you think, I've been doing this one thing for 5-10 years, and you think about who you were 5 to 10 years ago. The needs of that person 5-10 years ago and the things that filled them up are going to be so different to the person you are today, what that person needs and wants, what fills them up, what gets them excited, versus who you're going to be in 10 years. And so doing the same things over and over and expecting the same things from them when you yourself are a different person is a little bit crazy when you think about it. So if you're experiencing that disconnect from something that's always made you feel a certain way, just be gentle on yourself and know that when you grow and change, of course, the things you enjoy and naturally are drawn to are also going to grow and change. And that could be you being too locked into your routine and not leaning enough into, your routine growing and changing with you. The third one is you're experiencing a lot of resistance. What I mean when I say resistance is kind of like this pushback from the universe is honestly the best way I can describe it. It's like if you're trying to force something, or you really have to try to make something work, whether it be a friendship or a job or a holiday or buying a house, whatever it is. If it's not easeful, if you're not in flow, if you're feeling that resistance, that could be a sign that you're also a slave to your routine. And the example I want to use is, I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves to have a morning routine, right? But the reality is a lot of us have a tendency towards being morning people or night people, right? So if you're naturally a PM person, you like staying up late, you have energy late at night, but you're really trying to force a morning routine, you might have felt that you've been experiencing a lot of this resistance. And so rather than being a slave to that routine and feeling like you have to have a morning routine, you have to get up at the crack of dawn, when your energy is naturally buzzing later at night, you're probably feeling that resistance. And I think this is probably a good sign that you're a slave to a routine you think you need to have, rather than leaning into who you are and what your natural needs are. Number 4 is you're not letting yourself be intuitive, or you don't feel like you are very connected with your intuition. So a best example of this I can give is, say it's Saturday, and your weekends are reserved for chilling out, for resetting, whatever the case may be, but you feel a sudden burst or inspiration to work, but you really are too strict on yourself, saying, weekends are not for working. I'm not going to be intuitive and let myself get creative in this zone because I've got this burst of energy. I'm out of principle not going to work because it's a weekend. You are not letting your intuition guide you. You're not letting your intuition have a seat at the table over and above your routine. And so that could be a sign that you're a slave to your routine, which might actually be blocking you connecting with your intuition. Number 5, before I say what it is, I'm going to ask you a question. And that is, when was the last time you tried something new? And I mean, like, really tried something new, went and took a new type of class, went and tried a new skill, went and did something completely out of your comfort zone. If it's been a long time, this may also be a sign that you are a slave to your routine, because again, it signals that inflexibility to kind of move away from the norm, to shy away from the things that are a part of your routine or a part of your habits. Like, yes, of course, there's a place for those set standard things, but ultimately we need to have room for a bit of play, a bit of fun, because otherwise we're always living in routine, and then you're not allowing for the nuances or just different things in life that you don't even know exist to happen. So just have a think about that. When was the last time you tried something new? And maybe it's time to be a little bit more flexible, to be creative, to explore, and to play. 6, interesting one. I've definitely been here. And that is that you are stressed out by your routine. I cannot count the number of times I've been in a position where I have a, mental to-do checklist, and I put so much stress on myself to get through all of those things, even if it's going to cause me more stress. So it's really ironic. I mean, the whole point of having a routine is so you fill it with things that actually give you joy, that give you energy, that help you feel your best self. But I've actually been in a position in the past where it's literally just a to-do list. You check things off just for the feeling of like having done the things, but you end up in a more stressed position when the point of it in the first place is to actually give you energy, inspire you, fill you up. So that's a really ironic part of it. And if your routine is stressing you out, then you are definitely a slave to it. And it is time to rethink about the things that you are giving airtime to in your routine. Maybe they just need a little bit of a mix around, a bit of a shuffle. If we were playing a card game, it'd be time to draw 2, pick up some wild cards, do something a little bit different. 7, interesting one. I'd be curious to know if this one resonates with you. And that is, you don't really care about results. I'm going to use this example in the gym exercise kind of way. And I want to just caveat this by saying results is not, so if we're talking about the gym, it's not just physical. It's about your energetic results, about how you feel, your mood, your performance throughout the day as a consequence of going to the gym. So if you're not really too fussed about how things are making you feel or why they're a part of your life as a reason to add value or add something to your life, then you're likely just doing it out of habit. And again, it comes back to then just doing things without questioning, without wondering, is this still right for me? So I think sometimes if you don't really care about the results, and results is equivalent to the why, whatever it is, why you're doing that, then that may be a sign that you are a slave to your routine. It could be a case here that you're so set in your ways, or you've been doing something for so long that you're not even open to other ways or other things that might actually be better for you in terms of achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. So again, potentially another sign. I can definitely say I felt this one in the past before as well. And lucky last, you are comfortable. Sometimes we can be so settled in our routine that we are not thinking about moving forward or laterally out of fear of losing the predictability that comes with our routine. So our routines obviously afford us a level of comfort because it creates predictability in our day-to-day. We know that we're going to get up, we're going to go to the gym, we're going to come home, we're going to have breakfast, shower, and start our day, right? And knowing that those sequence of events play out every single day give us a level of comfort. But I think because it feels so nice to have that level of comfort, we often, and of course naturally as humans, avoid anything that is uncomfortable. But because of that, sometimes maybe you're not thinking big enough for yourself. Maybe you're not thinking about moving to another country, moving suburbs, moving out, or changing jobs, or just doing anything completely lateral to what it is you're doing now, because maybe it will shift or stuff around with that routine too much, which basically unplugs you from the predictability that it affords. And of course, we have routines for their predictability. It's actually a benefit of it. And I don't want to take that away because it's something I, in my own life, really value and appreciate. But I think the sign kicks in, and if you're listening and this is you, I think it is more important in the context or the conversation of you being a slave to it when it's tying you down or holding you back from doing something else. So if you're too locked into that predictability, to that comfort, that it's kept you there for way too long, that it's stopped you from doing things or going after things that you want, then that is probably the biggest sign that you're a slave to it. So if any of these 8 signs have stuck out to you and you're thinking, okay, maybe I am a little bit of a slave to my routine, but what do I do next? I think the best place to start is to just revisit your balance areas. I'm going to drop a link to an episode where I take you through, handhold you through, I guess, working out what your unique balance is in this moment. What we're going to do there is talk through the areas of your life. You're going to work out the non-negotiables, the things that really add value to your life that you can't live without in each of those areas. Then you're going to create a bit of a schedule and, in effect, a routine around those core things. And the reason this is important to do is because it gives you the opportunity to reassess these things at this moment in time. And so I like to tell everyone, or what I like to do myself personally, is kind of do this once every 6 months, because we're growing and changing so much that checking in regularly and saying, okay, is this fueling me? Do I actually want to do this every single day? Can I use this time to maybe experiment or explore until I find another thing that can form part of my routine? Doing that regularly allows you to constantly be shifting your routine around. So you've almost got this predictable schedule, but that predictable schedule is growing with you. It's not staying stagnant from 5 years ago. It's not honoring who you were 5 years ago. It's shifting with you and honoring who you are today. So the link to that is in the show notes. If you want to listen to that episode and you feel like you just need to revamp and kind of just reset your balance, then that is the episode for you. And if anyone has come to mind in this episode in terms of someone you've been speaking to lately, someone you know in your circle, a loved one, friends, family member, that may be also kind of stuck in the monotony of day-to-day life, stuck in business as usual, share this episode with them, as they may also be a slave to their routine and need a little balance reset. Of course, knowledge is great when we hear it, but it's even better when we share it. If this episode has helped you, go ahead and smash that like button. It helps us reach new balancers who are also looking for this type of content and just connect with them. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Balance Series. I'll see you all on Monday for another episode. If you're in our Telegram chat, we'll be chatting there throughout the week. If you want to join, the link is in the show notes. It's free. You just need to download the Telegram app. And otherwise, I'll see you all on Monday.